So there are many people who will claim that you cannot use a burr grinder if you want to brew coffee at home. And in principle, there's nothing wrong with that idea, because indeed, to get the fineness that you need, you can spin this around many times, but the closest you'll ever get is this extremely coarse sand. However, with the advice of Matt Perger and other coffee aficionados on YouTube, I have been able to not pay for a $500 grinder and still be able to use a Chemex at home. And again, to cite Matt Perger, the finer you get this, the better it'll be. So the first trick you want to use is static electricity. The lid that you have on top of your grinder will often collect a good deal of fine particulate coffee, and you want to make sure you get all of that. And then when you grind it, you'll notice the top of your lid will get more fine particles of the coffee. There's no limit to how fine you can go, but you also want, this is going to take more time. And that's the thing. If you have $500, you can easily get a burr grinder and spend time adjusting those settings. But I like this better because you don't have to worry about a burr grinder. You just have to spend a little more time grinding your coffee every morning. Now, I'm not suggesting you get all of your coffee this way, but this is the finest coffee that you're going to get from a regular thing, because this is so light and fluffy. This will just turn into, this is too fine actually for what most people tell you. But I read a very interesting article in Live Science, one of those online newspapers, and it proposed a very interesting theory that these grinders, the blade grinders, are actually the best for grinding coffee, because you have a different series of coffee grinds. Now, I know the science says that you want them all to be evenly sized as close to possible, but most people don't have industrial machines that will allow them to get as close as possible. Another thing I saw was on America's Test Kitchen, where if you spin these for 10 seconds at a time and you shake the grinder, you get better results. And that's not bad advice, but the problem with that is that these grinders, they're only about $20, but they're not meant to be shaken. So I find a chopstick is pretty great as a tool, and you can stir the grounds that you have, and you should be stirring, but don't turn your grinder upside down and then shake it a few times like they're suggesting, because my idea is that it might even affect the motor of your grinder. Now, I'm brewing about 30 grams of beans here, and you can see just from using the static electricity, I'm able to harvest a good number of extremely fine coffee particles, powder. This is, if we had all the time in the world every morning, technically I'd be brewing and grinding this way, just by using the static electricity. But unfortunately, we still have to get to work in the morning, so this does have to follow some kind of time efficiency thing. But as I was saying at the beginning, the people who say you can't use a burr grinder, just throw it away, they're not wrong in the sense that a normal way of using a burr grinder, you will never be able to get the consistency that you need for pour over coffee at home. You're better off buying the ground coffee because they have a professional machine. And you'll see this even after I've ground this about 5 or 10 times, and you will still see that this is not close to what's needed. That it can still be too thick, and it doesn't look too thick now, but you'll see why so much is left over. And so Matt Perger suggests that what you can do, well, there's professional equipment for this too, but I'm not into spending a lot of money into special equipment. And also, I'm from India, so we use this strainer, a sieve, to filter our tea. So I have found that if you can run your coffee through a sieve, what this will do is It'll allow you to take out the finest grounds. And the finest ones you pull out are going to be from the static electricity. But this is the next stage. So you use a sieve, and these are about 99 cents or $2. And this is where you'll get a closer idea of why a regular coffee grinder is not good enough. It looks fine to the naked eye, but when you're done filtering out the truly fine powder and the particle that you have, you will realize that it leaves giant pebbles in your coffee. And that's not really good for your brew. And even if you're fine with a sweeter brew or a less strong tasting brew, the point is you paid for this coffee. You made this coffee. And if you're going to go from whole bean to your own cup, you need to make sure you grind it correctly. Otherwise, you're just wasting money because it's not as fine as it could be. So after I've done sifting this out just a little bit, and that's not even all 30 grams, but shaking it helps a little bit, as well as agitating it with the coffee brush, you clearly see that this is not finely ground coffee. And this is the genius of Matt Perger's idea. Whereas if you filter it, if you sieve it, then you can put these ones back in to your grinder. Now, I did say you're going to save money. I did not say you're going to save time. So if you have $500 for a grinder, go for it. But I don't have $500 for a grinder. And more importantly, even those $500 grinders, they have burrs in them. They have very intricate technical things that might break down. They may not work correctly, or the teeth may not lock correctly. And so you're not getting a perfect grind even after paying $500. So honestly, with my system, with a $20 blade grinder and a $1 sieve and a 1-cent chopstick and a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, you can actually do a great job. Again, this is to show you what's left after you filter it through one time. And so you want to put that back in your cup for the lid of your blade grinder. And you want to put that back in there. And you want to repeat this process all over again. So we've gotten about halfway through. But what we need to do is to repeat this about one more time, or you could even do it 2 more times. America's Test Kitchen says only 10 seconds. And that makes sense because the blade is a motor and it's spinning really fast. So you don't want to make any motor too hot from overuse. And again, we have a very nice powder, thanks to the power of static electricity. Then what you do is, like I said, instead of shaking the whole thing upside down, you just shake these coffee grounds upside down. And then you wait for it to get cloudy again. You dust it out. And the finer you get your coffee, the easier it is to get all this dust. Because it's already being turned to dust. It's just gathering up now. And so you're just picking it up. And so, like I said, I like to do it 3 times. You see, I grind my coffee myself. I brew my coffee myself. And I also roast my beans myself. So, or I could pay $2 for a cup from a diner that I really like. So that's my choice. And my choice is, obviously, I want my own freshly brewed coffee. I want it brewed to my correct flavor. And I want the fineness. And I don't want to pay $1,000 for the latest grinder that everyone's raving about. I don't think coffee is meant to be that exclusive. And like I said, the interesting point is that you may not even be getting as good of a grind for making sure that your grind sizes are this good. So I don't think that you should spend more than you have to. And by paying for that convenience also, you may not be getting the best grind. And I'm really about flavor. Ever since I've gotten into coffee, I really want it to be about flavor. And nothing's as important as you getting your flavor maximum for the coffee that you paid for. There's plenty of ways to dilute it, but then you're wasting money. So I do like to grind it for a third time, and I'm not sure if everyone's going to be down with that exorbitant amount of time to be used. And another way that you can save time is that you use a less fine of a sieve. Or one thing I do is that I use another sieve for the last pass. We're letting some thicker through if you use one with bigger holes in it. But you know, if it's a Saturday like it is today, or a Sunday, and I don't have anywhere to go, and I want my finest coffee that I could possibly brew, then I think I really prefer my own method. And also, I just wanted to challenge the conventional wisdom that you cannot use a blade grinder for brewing your own coffee at home. You can't use it normally, but if you're clever and crafty, you really can. And if you thought this was too much, there's like one more step, actually. Well, two more steps. First, I am going to go through it, take out the static electricity 3 more times. Like, you'll see here, even though we filtered it out, even though I've ground it like 9-10 times, it's still that big. It's still that thick, those pebbles. And that's really not great if you want, because caffeine is taken out by hot water going through. So the hotter your water is, the stronger your coffee brew is going to be. But these pebble sizes also have to be really small. And Matt Perger found that it should be about 250 microns big to get the perfect extraction. It should all be even. And we don't live in a perfect world, so it's not possible for normal people to get exactly 250 microns. And it's also not possible for every coffee ground to be exactly the same size. So the best we can do is try to go fine. And if there's some that are too big, that should be fine. Now look, this is where most people would give up. Like I said, I have one more thing to do in the 3 more rounds to do in the grinder. But another shortcut I want to tell you, see there's all this powder, like when you take powdered sugar, that can go straight into your collection because it's very fine and it'll be great with your brew. And this is the point. We're trying to get the finest coffee possible. So I'm going to do this 3 more times, and most people will be like, well, that's too much already. But really, the more you do it, the better. And then there's one more process that I do to make it as fine as it needs to be for pour-over coffee. As I said, this is going to yeah, I hear that motor making funny noises. It's definitely getting hot. But like I said, the more finer you have it, the easier the fine particle will cling because of static electricity. Because these particles are clinging because the electricity is stronger than the mass of this powder. And so that's why it goes on top. And so we will sieve it one more time. I guess here I can show you guys how to do it in the big one. And in the big one, they'll just pass through that much better. So because it's bigger, it'll reduce much more quickly. Now you only have a little bit left. But again, if it's too big for this strainer, I think we should get it finer. And like I said, in theory, you could do this all day and try to get and reduce it to as much as possible. Another quick little trick though, at the bottom here, there is always a little bit of powder. Powder is good. Powder means it's too light and static electricity is making it cling. So that is pretty fine. In fact, in theory, we'd have it all that fine. But here is where the next level comes in. Now, you could, in theory, just brew with this, and it's not bad, but you'll see these are definitely more pebble-sized, and this is definitely more fine powder-sized. And, you know, some people are even of the school that, you know, for Chemex, because it's a percolator, you want it to be maybe this thick. They call it coarse sand. And the reason they call it coarse sand is because the idea is that the percolator, the Chemex brew, is supposed to have the coffee go through right through, and that's better for your timing. But I disagree. Matt Perger shows in an amazing video on his channel that basically you want it ground more. Because caffeine and the flavor extraction is better when the coffee is finer. And you can't really over-extract coffee unless you've been boiling it for like 2 minutes. And when you brew coffee, you're not even using boiling water. It's just off the boil. And it doesn't even boil for 2 minutes straight. It percolates and filters through. So you take this, whatever's left over from your sieve, right? And I do it 3 times. And there's still some left over. Because this is why they say there is not enough fineness in a burr grinder to do the job. You really do need to first sieve out the particles that are too big, and do it again a few more times, and then maybe do it again 3 more times. And then with this pestle and mortar, you have the ability to grind it. These are the stubborn ones. These were the ones too big to be broken up inside a $20 blade grinder. So with this as your morning exercise for your hand, you just do this a few times. I do this while my coffee water boils. And then you can not spend $500, and you can debunk the common notion that a $20 blade grinder is not good enough to brew your coffee at home. And you should just buy ground coffee, which is much more expensive. The green beans I buy are about 20 bucks for 3 pounds. The roasting takes about, let's say, 2-3 hours on a cast iron pan. And as you see, grinding takes about 15 minutes. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of skill. But I don't have $500 for a blade grinder. I'm not tech savvy enough to be fixing blades. And not to mention, all those burr grinders, they retain a lot of coffee in them. So it's a problem when you put 30 grams of coffee in and you only get 28 grams of grounds out. That messes with your formula. A blade grinder has very low retention. I even take my finger and scoop out whatever's in here, because again, that's fine coffee. You want the fine powder because that gives you the best extraction. And so there's nothing wrong with getting a little coffee on your fingers or doing whatever you have to do. Even on the lid, there's a good deal of coffee. So if you take the time to use static electricity and finally ground your coffee, if you want to make your money's worth and keep all that flavor inside your cup, and like I said, just put a little elbow grease in it. This may not be for everyone, but I don't do much exercise. This is pretty much my daily workout. The advantage of this, and you know, the crazy thing is, this still doesn't get them as fine as they should be. Like, it's not as fine as the powder that we have. But the advantage is that you didn't spend 500 bucks, and it's a lot finer than it would have been otherwise. And I know that because by the time I take out my coffee in my Chemex brewer, the coffee is, I can't see, after the grounds are wet, I can't see any pebbles in my wet grounds. All I see is a nice bed of pure wet coffee. So After my water is done boiling, I do it one more time with the hand. But you can see how much of an improvement this is. There is no big boulders. It's just about ready to add to the rest of your coffee. And I hope that will save you a lot of money. Thank you for watching.